and welcome to the Site Shed. My name is Matt Jones, and before we dive into this episode, I just want to make a quick mention of a program that we've got coming up in August. If you're like me, you love to ski and you love to surf. However, it's hard sometimes trying to justify the time to get away and actually, go on holiday and spend a bit of time with yourself. For me, I'm always wanting to, if I'm not investing into the business, then it's something that doesn't really get a priority. So with that in mind, we've developed a program which enables you to do both. Coming up in August in New Zealand, in Wanaka, we're holding our very first Learn and Ski. And at Learn and Ski, you're going to be able to come along. We're going to ski in the mornings. We're going to do a workshop in the afternoon. And then at night, we're probably going to party. It's going to be a lot of fun. There's going to be a lot of like-minded businesses coming along there. Basically people that enjoy the snow and enjoy investing in themselves and their businesses. A bit of time out. You're going to learn some cool stuff. And of course, we're going to get to play on some of the best mountains in the Southern Hemisphere. So hopefully you guys can make it. If you want to come along, you can head across to thesiteshed.com/events, and that will take you to the page where you can get some more information on that. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. So hopefully we'll see you there. Isn't it true that in business we tend to overcomplicate things? I do it daily. I'm sure a lot of you guys do it daily. It's just, I don't know if it's part of being human, but sometimes we just want to make things way more complicated than they are. In this series, I'm joined with the beautiful Ellen Rohr, and Ellen has come on the show to talk about business uncomplicated. And we're diving into three specific areas. Firstly, we're diving into getting to know your financials, and basically within that, we're talking about how you can get a grasp on, what your numbers are within your business, setting budgets and that kind of thing. Then in the following episode, we're talking about business planning made easy, and that's actually a really powerful episode with some really good little golden nuggets in there. And then in the final episode, we're talking about D-Day. And D-Day is basically the day where you decide whether or not it's worth staying in business. So this is a fantastic series. And I just want to say thank you very much to Ellen. Ellen's actually offered a free giveaway to our listeners. If you visit ellenrohr.com, that's ELLENROHR.com/shed, then you will see the little offer she's put together there. I thoroughly recommend you go ahead and download that. I have done so, and it is awesome. Of course, we'll have a link to that in the show notes as well. Anyway, that's enough from me. Let's dive straight into the first episode where we are talking about getting a grip on your financials.
Giving tradies and contractors around the globe the tools to run a modern business. You're listening to Toolbox Talks from the Site Shed. Now here's your host, Matt Jones.
So hello and welcome back to Toolbox Talks, and you are joining us today in the first episode of the Business Uncomplicated series that I'm conducting with the lovely Ellen Rohr out of the United States. Hello, Ellen.
Hello. I'm happy to be at the shed today.
Back at the Site Shed. Welcome back. For those that missed it, Ellen actually was on the show in episode 42 a couple of weeks ago, and she got such a great response that we had to get her back on the show. For a number of reasons. Firstly, because everyone loved her, and secondly, because I wanted to hear more about what her area of expertise is in, which is a business uncomplicated. So we've broken this down into 3 episodes for a reason. Firstly, we don't want to confuse the heck out of our listeners, and we want you, of course, to be able to, I suppose, implement as much as you can with each episode. So, Ellen, what are the 3 topics that you have chosen to talk about in this series?
Under the umbrella of Business Uncomplicated, I wanted to share how I work with clients as well as my own personal journey for fixing my businesses. Start with getting a handle on the financials. We're calling this Get a Grip on Your Financials. So we're going to address the money, honey, right out of the gate. And then part 2 will be business planning made easy. Now, people think of business planning like dieting, Matt, like, deprivation, no fun. I got to sit down and write a business plan. It's nothing like that. It doesn't have to be anything like that. And I'm going to share some uncomplicated ways to craft a little plan that inspires you and moves you to action. And we can do that in 20 minutes.
Cool.
And then the third segment is D-Day. We're going to talk about D-Day, and D-Day stands for Decide Day. And Decide Day is the day you put on the calendar where you decide whether or not you're going to quit. Now, I don't think quitting is the worst thing in the world. It can be a good idea to quit. And we're going to unpack that in segment 3. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
Yay.
All right, awesome. Well, look, we may as well dive right in. I am very keen to get into this. So without any ado, we will dive into episode 1. Okay, getting a grip on your financials. Now, why have we decided to speak about this specific topic, Ellen?
Well, 2 reasons. One is, in my personal journey, it was being broke and tired of it and in debt up to my eyeballs. The pain of that situation as the wife of the plumber, the wife of the contractor, was so great that that's what spurred me to action. And the second reason, Matt, is that most people who make a reach in my direction to talk to me, to ask for help, to buy one of my products, this is what they say. I'm not making any money. I wake up in the middle of the night and I can't make ends meet. I don't know how I'm going to meet payroll. This is a frustrating moment in any business owner's lives, and it's a really common problem. So stopping the bleeding and getting a handle, getting a grip on the financials is always a good place to start. If you're overwhelmed and frustrated, start with the money, honey.
Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, look, I suppose financials are one of those things, isn't it? Like, I mean, I know even myself, I sometimes just dread to look at the my accounting program to see what's actually coming in and what's going out. But it's one of those things you've really got to face head on and address, otherwise you'll just end up in a hole.
Well, tell me about your experience. Like, I wish we taught this stuff in 6th grade. I didn't even learn how to read a balance sheet or a profit and loss, and I went to school and graduated with a degree in business administration. So, I mean, I didn't learn this stuff in school. What made you put it together?
Well, you know what, and this is one of the reasons we're doing what we're doing. I'm not sure what it's like in the US. However, I'm quite sure it would be relatively similar to how it is in Australia. So in Australia, we serve an apprenticeship. So we go to what we call TAFE, which is our equivalent of your college, and we learn the trade. So it's plumbing, for example, was a 4-year course, and we go 1 day a week for pretty much 4 years, and then you learn certain areas of the trade, and then the other 4 days of the week, you're actually applying what you learn in a position at a job. So you have a job and you're studying while you're working, kind of thing.
Okay, not unlike the U.S., although state by state there's different requirements, but many states have a similar situation.
Okay, cool. So now the problem is, of course, when you're learning how to, I suppose, you're learning the skills of the trade and you're learning how to apply those skills into your job. However, come the end of your 4th year apprenticeship, you're given an option where you can go ahead and do a course which gives you a license. So that course normally goes for either 1 or 2 years, depending on how you structure it. But then at the end of that course, you can go and get your plumbing license and you can go and trade as a plumber yourself. Now, this is all good, except for the fact that at no stage throughout that process do you get any education on how to run a business.
I've heard that from doctors, chiropractors, lawyers, other professionals too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you take all this training and then the typical path is to go set up a private practice like you. And there is that lack of education. So that's why I'm so busy. That's why I do what I do. That's why I realized what a need this is, that, you may love the trade, but the business is a whole different ballgame, and the financials is probably your least favorite part, or seems to be. Now, the reward for the effort has to be there for you to stay in business and make something of this endeavor. You started your business for the freedom, for the lifestyle, for the money. And if after a few years those things aren't there, that point of pain may be what spurs you to learn it. That was my situation, and I found it to be true for so many other contractors. So, there is a point of commitment and discipline that is required. If you are going to be a business owner, my hearty encouragement is you get over yourself and learn how to read and use financial reports, because it's your money and it's your responsibility. It's your stewardship. So, like, from here on out, now that you've heard that, any excuse for not doing it is just going to be considered whining.
Yeah.
You just have to do it. And I fought it. I'm creative and clever. And even like we were looking at our Google Doc, I have a hard time starting at the beginning of a document and reading through. I don't know if you noticed that. I thought that was so typical of me because I'm kind of dyslexic. And so what? Whatever your challenges are, learning how to read and use financial reports is a course of study. So dig in and find out this is a good start. If you could make a commitment today that, you know what, I'm going to learn this. It's not that hard. I can figure it out. It's like speaking another language. I might have to learn the words and have a basic working vocabulary. You don't have to be an expert. But the good news is once I dug into it, it wasn't nearly as hard as I thought it was going to be. Mm-hmm. And I had manufactured these big rocks in my road that really were not there. It took me about a year to get my arms around the financials, 11 months of which I was kicking and screaming.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I completely relate to that. Actually, it was only probably, I would say 12, 18 months ago maybe, when I went to my accountant and I said, listen, the business is growing. I don't know anything about the financial side of this business. I just want to sell out for the next 12 months and learning more about, what's coming in, what's going out, how to manage, how to budget, how to do all this kind of stuff. So,
that's so awesome. Now, how was that conversation received by your accountant?
Well, she loved it because I think
then you have a good accountant.
Yeah, I do have a good accountant.
That's an indicator. That's an indicator. And that was my experience too, Matt, because if I had been shut down by the accountant, if the accountant had said, oh, don't worry yourself about it, you turn the wrenches, I'll take care of the money, or what do you want to know that for, was intimidating in any way, I would have curled up and gone away.
Yeah.
I would have not done it. But I was met with the enthusiastic response that you got, and that's what you're looking for in an accountant. So one of the things that I want you to take away from today is you might have to kiss a few frogs. You might have to upgrade if your accountant isn't enthusiastic about your interest in learning how to read and use financial reports. You want someone who's going to champion you on this course of study. And you need someone who knows what they're doing, who will sit with you elbow to elbow to help you understand the balance sheet and the profit and loss.
Yeah.
So as you do that, were you going to add something else about your journey too? I kind of interrupted you.
No, well, I mean, yes and no. I mean, I suppose one of the big things that I was having trouble with, and I imagine there's a lot of listeners out there that are in a similar scenario, especially when it comes to the budgeting side of things, when you're when you're in a business and it's just scraping by, and you're just making money, it's really hard to budget per se when you haven't got anything to budget with.
Okay. So do you want me to redefine budgeting for you?
Yes, actually, that'd be great.
Okay. Budgeting is just making stuff up.
Oh, okay.
It's just what you want. Okay. It has nothing to do with any kind of reality. Like, lighten up about this for a minute. So this is the process. First step is to get to what we call a known financial position, which means that you can run your balance sheet and profit and loss on a weekly basis. That is the standard. While the month is on, you want to keep score and know where you stand so you still have a chance to impact the score. So weekly basis, be able to run a balance sheet and a profit and loss. And if these words are weird to you, then, you start with a book, you go to YouTube, you search it. I've got some really basic stuff on my website to help along these lines. Your accountant is a great resource. Another business owner, it's a course of study. Just dig in and get your books current and right and accurate. And the standard is once a week. And then you look at them and, like you said, oh, what if they suck? They're terrible. You don't like them. It's not enough money. It's too thin. You don't have any cash. Wherever you are is where you are. The budget is where would you like to be? So if you're doing $250,000 a year and you're spending $350,000 a year, you're going into debt. You've got a loss. This is there's no wrong in any of this. It's all part of the journey, but you might want to improve that score. So then you think about, well, what would I like it to be? Maybe I could do $500,000 a year in sales because that would cover my expenses and leave me with a profit. There's a great quote that I love by Edward Gibbons that goes like this: I am indeed rich since my income is superior to my expense and my expense is equal to my wishes. What do you want? What's the biggest expense in your financials?
Well, probably.
What's the biggest expense?
It'd be yourself, I'd say, in most cases, wouldn't it?
It's going to be labor.
Yeah.
Either that or you're not paying yourself. But for every contracting company, the big rock is labor. So the difference between a company that charges a lot and a company that charges a little is what they pay the people. Isn't that interesting? So, because everything else, like, what are you going to pay less than on fuel than the other guy? You're going to pay less for insurance. Maybe some people don't have those things. There's guys who are operating under the radar, but overall, a legitimate company is going to have equal expenses. The materials are going to be the same. The difference between a high-priced contractor and a low-priced guy is going to be how much money they want to make. And so as you put that budget together, why don't you put in what you want? Now, you may not hit your budgeted goal for sales. You're at 250,000 in sales. You set a goal for 500. Maybe you don't hit it, but here's the cool thing. Nobody comes and takes your dog. It's just a goal. Lighten up a little. Some people hate budgeting. Well, what if I don't hit it? Well, yeah, okay. What would happen? What's the worst case? No bad thing happens.
Yeah.
So you just, budgeting is goal setting. And if you believe in the power of imagination and clarity of intention and goal setting, then you get how powerful it is to look at where you are and springboard that discouragement to a new thought. Here's where I'd rather be. Now, what would it take to get you there? And that's what we're going to talk about in the next segment. But for now, just consider the where we are. That's step one. Where we want to be is the budget. And that disparity between where we are and where we want to be is going to be our journey.
I suppose one of the problems that I've had in the past with goal setting, and don't get me wrong, I do it. I was saying to Al in a podcast only the other day when we recorded one, your friend Al, I have an accountability partner every week. We'd tune in and we'd sit down and we'd write our goals out for the week and we address what we got done and what we haven't got done, and we sort of progress from there. Well, we were doing that until he selfishly went and had a child.
Oh, that's just wrong.
Oh, I know.
Kids
some
get in
people,
the way of your career. I'll tell you that for free.
Yeah. But anyway, one of the problems that I had in the early stages of business with goal setting was you're creating these goals without a direct plan to get there. And it's all great and saying, I want to make $1 million a year. Okay, cool. Write it down. It'll happen. That's fine. But, at the end of the day, you can write whatever you want down. If you haven't got like some sort of action plan to help you get to that goal, then it never happens.
It doesn't. And even as you put the goal together, this is one of my tips for budgeting. If you're at 250,000 and you said, I'm going to put a goal to become $1 million company or $10 million company, if just even writing it starts to collapse you, makes you feel a little sick to your stomach, like there's no way that's going to happen, then alter it. Like just give it a little gut check. Does this get you excited or does it collapse you? Like if you're at 250, maybe 350 is like, you know what? That's a game. I could play that. And I can't decide that for you, but you can. And you just pick a number and you decide that's what I'm going to aim for. And I may fall short, but what would that journey be like? And would it be worth it? Now, keep this in mind. Let's suppose you're at 250,000 in sales and you set a goal to be at 500,000 in sales. You could just double your prices right now and you would hit it. Theoretically, that's all that would have to happen. Mathematically, that's all that would have to happen. And this is how you make things uncomplicated. Just consider that. With no additional work, with the same expenses, if you just said, listen, I'm going to double my prices, you're going to make more money. And that might be a significant chunk of the action that's required to get you where you want to go. What do you think of that?
Yeah. I mean, I suppose at the end of the day, it comes down to, I know we're talking hypothetically here, and of course you've got to be respectful to what people are actually willing to pay, but
don't be too concerned about that. Well, consider this too. People are willing to pay all kinds of things. People pay $10,000 for a Rolex and it's not even a quartz watch. It's a mechanical watch. It doesn't even keep very good time. Right? So there is an illusion about that watch. So what we allow ourselves to do is give all sorts of roadblocks and reasons as to why that just wouldn't work. And when I look at, as a plumber, I married a plumber and I'm just a huge fan of tradespeople. I think we talked about this on the last call, but like when you don't have the skill set and you see it through my eyes, look who's going to save the planet as waters rise, as the chemicals seep into the fields, as we pollute. The on-site wastewater guys actually will clean that water up. Can you imagine being able to do that? And the plumbers separate good water from bad water. Shouldn't we pay a premium for this? So much of it is that somewhere along the line, Matt, the guys who are going to wear blue collars and patches on their shirt started to believe that what they did was worth less than the guy who sells an online marketing program for a YouTube class.
Yep.
So much of it is your self-esteem. That's what one of my mentors taught me, is that you can raise your prices as often as you raise your self-esteem. But and we're going to dive into this a little more in business planning, but consider, if you are going to raise your prices, you are going to have to be better. You're going to have to communicate why you are higher than the guy down the street who's charging half of what you're charging.
Yeah.
But what I found is, particularly in contracting in the service industry, if you show up clean, sober, on time, and dressed right, if you use a checklist, you could quintuple your prices and you're still going to get customers. Now, what you might do in the bright jewel of Australia, you might become better at marketing and finding people with wherewithal, with two-income families who really value time more than money. And you might decide to be, when I worked at Benjamin Franklin, we're Benjamin Franklin, the punctual plumber. We're the on-time guys. We're late, we pay you.
Yeah.
Or you might market yourself as the clean plumber, or an expert at solar and hydronics. That's what my husband did, and he rocked it. He said, I'm just going to do this very, very fine niche, and I'm going to do it better than anybody. And if you want to work with me, you're going to pay my prices and get in line.
Oh, look,
wow.
Niche. I mean, this is one thing that I've been preaching for forever, is you got to niche yourself, and especially in a competitive landscape like plumbing or electrical. If you're just trying to compete, it makes it very hard to market yourself if you're trying to be everything. Whereas if you can focus on a niche, it makes it so much easier to, I suppose, master that area, and then you can. It doesn't mean that's all you have to do, but it means that that's where your traffic's going to be coming from, and then you've got that opportunity at that point then where you can sort of spread your wings a little bit further because you've already got that name.
Well, at Zoom, our drain cleaning company, we just do drain.
Right. There you go.
We do from the end of the fixture to the handoff to the wastewater. We just do that section. So we had to pick a market where that was going to work. It's a big city concept. It's a tree-lined street concept. I can't do it everywhere the way we do it. So that becomes, that's the journey then. So if you say, I want to make 500,000, you start to get creative in terms of, okay, well, what would that look like? And what could I try? And how would I measure it? We'll start with the money. Get the financials in place. Start looking at them as to where you are. And then the budget is just a hope, a dream, a goal of where you would rather be.
Yep.
And now that path is laid out. And you start to see some patterns. So if one thing that I would love for you to take away from today is that you would commit to getting your financials cleaned up. Boom. Work with your accountant side by side, elbow to elbow. Go line by line with the ruler. What's that? What does that mean? What does that word mean? What does that number represent? Is it right? How do we know it's right? How does the number get there? That's the conversation. And it may take you a year if you fuss. It may take you a couple of months if you just dig in. And what you might find is it's kind of fun, because while you said before, it's no fun when the numbers don't look good, but when they look good, it's really fun. When you make a big sale and you enter that sale and you see the effect it has on the numbers, it's like, wow, that's pretty cool. And so, the discipline that's required, the stewardship that's required, I encourage you to embrace it. As the owner, that's one of your responsibilities, is to care for the money. It's your stewardship. So does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I suppose what I would like to ask you is a little bit about the how we do this. And I know like our audience is quite, a lot of them are quite tech savvy. We put a lot of spin on, cloud products and digitally related things. Like we try and help guys to, I suppose, see solutions that can keep them out of their office until 10 o'clock at night. The idea, in getting all their stuff done on the job, so they haven't got to, be back at home. They can spend their home time with their family. That's kind of a message we'd like to relay. So if I was to ask you a little bit about how this is done, I know I use a program called Zero Accounting, and Zero Accounting
I've heard of that. Okay.
Okay,
Yep.
so it's kind of an equivalent to, you're probably familiar with FreshBooks or QuickBooks or MYOB or something like that in the States.
MYOB is big in Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that program. QuickBooks is very popular. If you don't have an accounting program, I recommend QuickBooks because it's like a Chevy truck of accounting.
Yep.
I don't love their online version though.
Right.
So there's that. So FreshBooks is there are options, and Zero is fine. An accounting program is like a truck. If it's a Dodge or a Chevy or a Ford, they're all going to have the same features. A balance sheet is a balance sheet in any country and any dollar. It's so exciting. I love. It's a universal language like biology. There's no real difference from country to country. So, pick an accounting program and then decide if you want one that's going to be available online and you can do it on your phone and all that. I think is great. Now,
so if we're talking about getting a grip on your finances, I mean, something that I always try to encourage new business owners to do is to invest in a business, in a cloud-based accounting program that can give them an overview in a click of a button. If you want a balance statement,
and a real one that will do a balance sheet and a profit line. It's like there's a dumbed down version of QuickBooks called Quicken or Mint. These are personal financial tools. They're not good enough for a business. You want to, if you're going to play the game, speak the language, get a full-blown accounting program. Don't try and create your own spreadsheets. What a waste of time. That's like building a car. There are great cars out there. Just get a car, and then you can use it. Now there may be some other cool apps that you can use. Service Titan, if you're a little bit bigger, I would say 4 trucks is the point where I would look at Service Titan as a dispatch program that sits with QuickBooks, and that can help you with your price book. And there's some other fancy stuff. But let's talk about the budget.
Yeah. I mean, there's lots of job management and project management tools out there. But I suppose what I'd like to hear from your point of view is, your recommendation in the space of, okay, how as a new business or how as an existing business, what's the best way and the simplest way for me to turn around tomorrow and then, implement some sort of program or some sort of strategy or some technique that's going to make it easy for me.
Okay, so the full-blown accounting program, and none of the bells and whistles, but just like a solid QuickBooks Pro or Zero Pro, that's fine. And then work with your accountant, and that's going to take you a few months to maybe get the books set up and studied so that you understand them. Then the budget. Now, I have a freebie, ellenrohr.com/shed. You got to type it all in because otherwise it'll default you to like my website and you'll miss it because it's a special page I put together for you, ellenrohr.com/shed. So go there. And one of the tools that I've got is a spreadsheet. I don't mind a standalone spreadsheet now and then. You don't have to use the fanciest tool all the time. A spreadsheet can be good. This is a freebie that I've got for you. That's a 1-page financial report where you would report once a week. This is what I have for sales and expenses. This is my cash flow position. And I'm going to compare that to budget, maybe compare it to year to date. It's a lovely, simple tool for gathering that information so that you can do a little bit of analysis.
Beautiful.
It does require that you are operating from a known financial position and that you have a budget. So is another one of the products that I make available. If you put your name and email address in there, you'll get introduced to another tool called the Financial Toolkit that comes with a little budgeting spreadsheet, or you can go to my website. You can go online and Google this, or in QuickBooks, they have a budgeting form. Mm-hmm. The budget does 2 things for us. One is that it helps us come up with goals for sales and expenses. The second thing it does is it helps you justify your selling price strategy. My spreadsheet, and there are others too. This stuff is not that hard. I just try and make it easy to access the information. You could create your own, or you could use mine or find another one. But my budget has another page to it that helps you calculate a selling price. So it will add up your costs and divide it by the number of billable hours you think you might have, give you a break even for that, and then you could inflate that number for profit. If you fill out your budget on QuickBooks, it's not going to have that piece of the puzzle.
So when you say your costs, are you talking about expenses like your overheads, your office, your cars,
cost
your
is
tools?
another word. Yep.
Okay.
Cost is another word for expense.
Okay. Well,
So,
that's
and that's one
fantastic.
of the things that's confusing about like income is really the same as sales, is really the same as revenues. I don't
Yep.
know why they call them three different things. And so expenses and costs are the same. They do it like an elbow or 90, right? Just to screw you up. So, that's part of learning the language. Oh, there's more than one word for something. That's helpful.
Yep.
So, so the numbers crunching, I tell you, you could just double your prices. You could just increase your prices by 10, 20, 30%. You don't have to go through all the math. Some of my clients aren't that bright. God bless them. I said, Ellen, what do you think you should do? I think you should double your prices. And they just do.
Yeah.
And then here's another quote you'll love by Robert Jarvik, one of the creators of the first artificial heart. He said, leaders are visionaries with no concept of the odds against them. Like it's the smart guy that's going to tell you how hard it is. Quit listening to that guy.
Yeah.
Just make this uncomplicated, make it easy. So you could raise your prices or you could crunch the numbers and come up with something justifiable. You know what? I had to do that. Mm-hmm. My mentor was telling me just quintuple your prices. And I'm like, I can't do that. And then I ended up quintupling them after I did all the math.
Yeah, right.
But now if you do raise your prices, and this will help us springboard to the next topic, you're going to have to be better. Mm-hmm. You're going to have to communicate your difference and why you're better to your customers. You're going to have to become a better marketer and a better salesperson and a better operator. So that in my life, that's what happened. Once we raised our prices, what was I going to do to get my customers to say yes? And then once we started to make money, it opened up the question, now what do we want to do? Do we want bigger goals? So is that a tease for our next segment?
Absolutely. Look, I think we've pretty much wrapped this one up.
Okay.
Are you happy with that? Is there anything we've missed there?
I'm happy with you. You're fun to visit with about this. Thank you.
Rock and roll. Well, look, I suppose my takeaway from that episode is going to be get across to the siteshed.com/shed and download that document, because it's going to help you set a budget, and it's going to help you also figure out what your expenses are so you can ascertain what you should be charging as an hourly rate. Now
let me break that down. The freebie is going to be the one-page dashboard report. The budgeting form is $7.95, and that's an optional purchase.
Okay.
There's some videos that go with it, a lot of checklists and forms and education and everything. That's a little bit more of a bump. The freebie will change your life if you figure out some way. Like you can use my approach. It's not the only approach out there. Or if you've already got to the point where you're operating from a known financial position and you have your budget in place, a dashboard report is a very common tool of the most successful operators I know. They summarize the score in a snackable way. Mm-hmm. They understand where they are and they track a few numbers, not a zillion numbers. And that one-page dashboard report, and it comes with instructions and stuff, is an absolute game changer. You might need that's the financial quick check, and then the instructions and the financial meeting agenda. That's the freebie. That's at ellenrohr.com/shed. Yep. And then I expose you to, I've got more, but wait, there's more. And then there's the budget and some other tools if you want to look at that too. And the financial toolkit is an extra. It's $7.95, but that might be something that gets you off the dime for getting that budget done.
Well, look, I think sounds like it'll be a very good investment, but I suppose.
Oh, it's a huge value. I am very excited about making this available. I thought, what can I do that's just going to be a no-brainer? And you share a lot of information. The videos are great. I talk you through with the victim. I've got Brittany sitting down next to me, and the two of us work out a budget together with the tool that I provide as part of it. It's really great.
Awesome. All right, well, that sounds good. I suppose one thing I'd like to add to that as well is go and have a chat to your accountant and see if they are happy to sit down with you and answer some of your questions. And if they're not, that's probably a good indicator that you may need to move on. I know we've had a lot of customers come to us, and when we suggest they get onto a cloud accounting program, make their lives a bit easier and save a bit of time, their accountants aren't familiar with it. They want to do it the old school way. So as a result, we suggested that they change accountants, and since they did that, they've been able to get a bit of time back in their lives. So it's important, I think, to not get overly attached to people.
They're working for you,
Exactly.
And sometimes they just need a little encouragement. Listen, this is my money. It's my job to figure this out. Are you with me or against me?
Yeah.
And sometimes they'll say, you know what, I'm being a stick in the mud. Let's learn this together. And sometimes it's time for you to move on, for sure.
Exactly. All right, cool. Well, look, I think that wraps the episode up.
Than 3 minutes.
Yeah, we're a little bit over, but that's fine. I told you it would go over, didn't I?
I'm enjoying this. Thank you, Matt.
All right. Well, look, we're going to come back in the following episode and we're going to talk business planning made easy. So stay tuned for that one, folks. And that is a wrap. So if you haven't already, head across to thesiteshed.com and register for our Toolbox Talks, where you'll be regularly sent great episodes just like this straight to your inbox, so you'll never miss one. If you want to join the community, you can head across to thesiteshed.com/members, where for a small monthly fee, you'll get access to regularly updated training material, as well as access to our forum, where you can mingle and collaborate with trade-based business owners just like you from all over the world. If you're enjoying this podcast, please head across to iTunes and leave us a 5-star review. We greatly appreciate it, and it helps us spread the word and reach the masses. Likewise, if you know anyone that might benefit from the content we create, then please go ahead and share this with them.
You've been listening to Toolbox Talks by The Site Shed. For more great content just like this, head across to thesiteshed.com and join the amazing community of savvy trade-based business owners.